Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Workflowy. So this is kind of a funny one. I have played a board game that's deeply affected how I think about a lot of things in terms of productivity and development. So it's Castles of Burgundy, and I've embedded a concept from Castles of Burgundy into my Workflowy daily workflow. I want to explain it, and it is very interesting. It's a very different feel to productivity. So I'm going to show you a super low-tech version of, so this is what the game looks like on the playing board. All I'm going to explain is two things and then show you what I've done. You've got a main board. There's a bunch of tokens on there that are valuable, and as a player, you're trying to get the most valuable tokens and play them on your board. And this is what your board looks like right here. Okay, the thing I want to show you primarily, you're trying to fill up this section with the most valuable things and create value interactions that get you points. From the board in the center of the table where all the tokens are that are of value, that board gets filled up several times. People take the tokens, and then on the next round, new tokens are placed. So there's many rounds, and you're trying to decide which tokens do you want, what value interactions do you want to create on your board, and then you pull those tokens, but you can place them here on these three slots so that you have this limited kind of work in progress, and there's a bottleneck right there. So you might want 10 or 12 tokens, but you can only take 3 at a time, and you have 2 dice. And so each of your turns, you roll the dice, and you can either pull a token and place it here, or take one of these tokens and place it on your board to create the value. So there's this kind of work in progress and throughput that has to happen in order to produce the value. But the limitation of 3 tokens and 2 dice per turn is what I want to focus on. So let me jump over to my Workflowy board. And this right here, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to move myself over here. This, what I call full focus, I've embedded that in my workflow. So essentially, here's the concept, and I've been experimenting with it, and it really works pretty well for the way my brain works, and it also keeps you flexible through the day while still focusing on the highest payoff items. So essentially, what I do over here in my will-do list. Got to move myself again here. I've got things that are not today and today. And so on Saturday, I go through my projects. I select the tasks that I will or would like to work on this week, have the possibility of working on this week. I'm not going to get them all done because every week your day changes, your week changes. There's, each day is like you can't exactly predict what's going to happen. So you have to stay flexible in that. So I go through, I put a tag on, it's SPR, hashtag SPR is what I put on each of the items in my projects that I want to potentially work on this week. And then I mirror them into this will-do list. All right. And so then I have this big set of tasks that I could potentially work on. Then this morning, what I did is I went through all those tasks, alt selected all the ones that I might want to work on or could work on today, depending on how the day plays out. And I mirrored them into today. Okay, so what that now simulates, and if you've ever played Castles of Burgundy, this is going to resonate a little bit more, but what that simulates is, let me switch over to here, is now I've got kind of a day of potentially useful value tokens or tasks, and I've placed them on the board. And then through the day, I'm basically rolling the dice, looking at, okay, what's my current situation? If I'm waiting for something, has that thing come back to me? Today, I'd like to finished my taxes, but I'm waiting on a report from somebody and if I get that back, then I can complete it. But if I don't get it back, then I can't. So I've got to stay flexible. But that's probably the highest payoff thing I'd like to get done today is complete my taxes and get them sent off for my business. So so essentially, as my turn comes around, and it's just me playing it, so it's always my turn. But as each turn comes around and I make a decision, I'm pulling some tokens off, and I'm placing them. I'm placing them in these three things. So here's what it looks like in Workflowy. Let me jump back to my home screen, and then so essentially, you could see here's my task list, and here's my kind of playing board where I can pull tasks from my today task list and move them over to my 3 slots. So what this looks like, I'll zoom in a little bit more and slide it over. Okay, so what it looks like is I have 3 plays to make, and in the notes, here's how it works. Once 1 to 3 items are placed and closed, any item on the list must be played before adding 1 to 3 more. So essentially, it's a cross between Castles of Burgundy play mechanics and a closed backlog, which I'll put a link in the notes. I wrote a blog post for Workflowy about a closed backlog. And so this is a way of closing a small list at a time while being able to be flexible with how your day plays out. So essentially, right now I'm making a video on Castles of Burgundy /X Workflowy. So once I've closed that, I turn it red. So I can add 1, 2, or 3 items. But then once I close it, that's all I can work on until it's done. So I've just added one thing. So what that lets me do is lets me put my highest payoff item first. And if I know I'm going to have the time and space and I have what I need to do 3 items, I can put my 3 top payoff items on that list and then close it by turning them red. And that's just my mental, just like that's a milestone where I'm like, okay, that's it. That's what I'm working on. If it takes me, 10 minutes or 5 hours, getting those things done. So what it lets me really do is focus. So I've extracted all the possible things I could do for the week into my weekly to-do list. And then from that list, I've kind of played onto my playing board my possible task to do today. And then I decide, okay, what's my first 1, 2, or 3 items that I want to focus on? Move them over and then close the list. And for me, I'm actually going to add this. Okay, so the way I typically do a closed backlog, over here is closed backlog number 9 right here, is I usually move 5 to 10 projects, not huge projects, something that would take me a few hours or maybe a day or so. I move 5 to 10 projects or tasks. Okay. I guess you didn't really need me. That was my wife calling me. 5 to 10 projects or tasks into that closed backlog. And I work with my wife to decide what are those things. What are the things that we need to get done? A room painted, the vehicle fixed, light bulbs changed out. Whatever. Maybe doing taxes or just whatever kind of margin related tasks. It's not my work projects. That's just a completely separate thing. It's just what am I going to do with the margin in my life, with the extra few hours a week that I have to do whatever I want with. And so that's the time that I work on a closed backlog. And then typically once I get it done, and it's usually quite a bit of work that's in there, I'll place like some motivating reward. Like right now, I've got a cocktail smoker that I bought when I close my close backlog number 9, and once I'm done everything on it, then I pay myself basically by, then I can use the cocktail smoker. So that's something that works for me. So in this case, a small reward to keep me motivated, something I want, maybe to play a game of Fortnite, maybe to go for a walk, or whatever, just some small reward as a payoff to additionally motivate me. And then, so basically, once I'm done making this video, which is the thing I closed on this closed backlog, then I will Control X that out and put it under completed items like that. And then because that's all in my closed backlog, whatever reward I've decided on, which in this case will be breakfast, then I get to do that. Now, once I've finished the closed backlog, it's complete, I've done whatever the reward is. Now I get another turn, another roll of the die. So I can come over to my today list and decide, okay, what's the next top payoff with the resources I have now, with, if I'm still waiting for something like to complete my taxes. Okay, I can't do that. But as soon as that report comes back, then that'll go on my next my full focus closed list for the day. So anyway, I've been experimenting with it. It's a really good, flexible, focusing, kind of motivating component of my system, in Workflowy. So anyway, I hope that helps.